Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. I want to talk about the ISS, the International Space Station, real quick. And I'm going to keep this video brief, but there's a lot of videos out there showing how broadcasts from the ISS are pretty suspicious and definitely faking something. And a lot of people have concluded that because the footage from within the ISS is questionable, that therefore the ISS doesn't really exist. And I would like to throw a different possibility at you, and that is that the real purpose for the ISS may be way more sinister. And the reason why there seems to be some sort of fakery going on with their videos and stuff like that, I mean, perhaps they really aren't broadcasting from within the ISS, and that wouldn't surprise me. But I would like to challenge those who think that there is no ISS, not so much because I believe everything NASA says. Obviously, if you watch my last video, that's not the case, and I think a lot of people feel that way. But there might be another reason why there's a semi-cover-up of the ISS, and they're not really clear, or it seems to be faked and stuff like that. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but just think about it, because if you believe that there is no ISS, you might actually be playing right into their conspiracy. You might be helping them continue the cover-up of items like what I'm about to talk about, which is microwave mind control and psychotronic technology, which is something that has been out there for a really long time. The information's been out there for quite a while, but I just don't see that many people talking about it these days. And, I just wanted to give you a refresher and let you know that there is a good amount of published material to suggest that this technology is real and it works and it exists, and that satellite technology may be responsible for deploying some of these technologies. So I'll leave a link to this website, educate-yourself.org, where a lot of this information was compiled. And I haven't been able to vet each citation from this, but it looks pretty legitimate. But again, I recommend everybody do your own digging so that you can, verify for yourself if this stuff is true. But basically, this list goes through the reported symptoms of microwave hearing, transmission of specific commands into the subconscious, visual disturbances, visual hallucinations, inject words, numbers into brain via electromagnetic radiation waves, manipulation of emotions, reading thoughts remotely, causing pain to any nerve of the body, remote manipulation of human behavior from space, harassment stress symptoms such as helicopters flying overhead, seeing as in a camera through your eye, i.e. to see what you exactly see, control of sleep patterns, computer-brain interface control and communication, complex control of the brain, such as retrieving memories, implanting personalities. The one I really want to focus on is remote manipulation of human behavior from space. And I'm just going to go through the quotes that are out there about this topic. Now, first off, there's plenty of evidence that there is technology that can transmit specific commands into the subconscious. Now, this is kind of freaky to think about, but let me go through them real briefly. The Defense News U.S. explores Russian mind control technology, written by Barbara Opal in January of 1993, and page 4 stated this, quote, "Pioneered by the government-funded Department of Psychocorrection at the Moscow Medical Academy, acoustic psychocorrection involves the transmission of specific commands via static or white noise bands into the human subconscious without upsetting other intellectual functions. Experts said laboratory demonstrations have shown encouraging results after exposure of less than 1 minute." And then in January 2000, the U.S. News reported Reading Your Mind and Injecting Smart Thoughts by Douglas Pasternak stated this, quote, "Norstein's interest in the brain stems from a Soviet book he read in the mid-1980s, claiming that research on the mind would revolutionize the military and society at large. He coined the term biofusion to cover his plans to map and manipulate the brain, leading to advances in national security, and would be able to convert thoughts into computer commands by deciphering the brain's electrical activity. Biofusion would reveal the fingerprints of the brain by using mathematical models. It sounds crazy. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, have all awarded research contracts to Norstein. Norstein is waiting to hear if the second stage of these contracts, portions of them classified, come through. Norstein's theories are grounded in current science by MRI, Scientists can tell what the person was doing at the time of the recording. Emotions from love to hate can be recognized from the brain's electrical activity. Norcine predicts profiling by brain print will be in place by 2005. Norcine would like to draw upon Russian brain mimicking software and American brain mapping breakthroughs to allow the communication to take place in a less invasive way. A modified helmet could record a pilot's brainwaves. When you say right 90 degrees, the computer would see that electrical pattern in the brain and turn the plane 90 degrees. If the pilot misheard instructions to turn 90 degrees and was thinking 80 degrees, the helmet would detect the error, then inject the right number via electromagnetic waves. End quote. So there you have it. This Russian research seems to point to this sort of technology already existing. Brain mapping is a part of this, and we know that one of the initiatives that's been put in place for a while now is brain mapping, and recently with the announcement of Obama calling to make the biggest supercomputer in the world here in America, part of that project had a link to brain mapping, and it just goes to show that this technology is being developed rather quickly and probably has a lot of it already in place. If we continue here, the Washington Times in 2002 reported this: NASA plans to read terrorists' minds at airport. Here's what it said in the article, quote, "Airport security screeners may soon try to read the minds of travelers to identify terrorists. Officials of the National Aeronautics and Space Agency, NASA, have told Northwest Airlines security specialists that the agency is developing brain monitoring devices in cooperation with a commercial firm, which it did not identify. Space technology would be adapted to receive and analyze brain waves and heartbeat patterns, then feed the data into computerized programs to detect passengers who potentially might pose a threat," according to briefing documents obtained by the Washington Times. NASA wants to use non-invasive neuroelectronic sensors embedded in gates to collect tiny electric signals that all brains and hearts transmit. Computers would apply statistical algorithms to correlate physiologic patterns with computerized data on travel routines, criminal background, and credit information from hundreds of thousands of data sources, NASA documents say. Robert Park, spokesman of the American Physical Society, stated, "We're close to the point where they can tell to an extent what you're thinking about by which part of the brain is activated, which is close to reading your mind. The idea is plausible," he says, "but frightening." Obviously, yes, that is frightening. And why is NASA looking to read terrorists' minds? This is all a ruse, folks. They're trying to control large populations through their technology. And just to mention and focus back on another quote that I just mentioned, let me read the quote again. This was, again, reported in U.S. News and World Report in 2000, talking about John Norcine reading your mind and injecting smart thoughts. Quote, "It sounds crazy, but Uncle Sam is listening. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, and the Army's National Guard Intelligence Center have all awarded small basic research contracts to Norcine, who works for Lockheed Martin's Intelligent Systems Division. Norcine is waiting to hear blah, blah, blah," that same stuff again. But there you go. NASA, DARPA, Army National Guard Intelligence Center, giving Norcine, who works for Lockheed Martin's Intelligent System Division. And Lockheed Martin, if you've looked at some of my lectures and stuff, there is definitely a skunk works associated with that, and the technology that they've been building there is very, very high tech and beyond what we think we are capable of. And so this is all very suspicious. Let me continue, and this gets to the heart of the matter, and I think a lot of it seems to come out of Russian research. This is remote manipulation of human behavior from space. Moscow, Rabolchaya Tribuna, if that's how you pronounce it there, November 26, 1994. "Psychotronics arms potential must be monitored" by Anatoly Pushenko, member of the Russian Federation of Space Exploration Scientific and Technical Council, was quoted in this article. Quote, "A prominent specialist speaks for the first time in our press in Rabolchaya Tribuna about psychotropic weapons, which started to develop in the 60s. Space-based energy systems capable of killing every living thing on the planet and driving millions of people crazy. There are frequencies that are beneficial to people, but naturally there are also those which are hazardous. That is, it has a direct physical effect on the human brain. The terrible danger of psychotropic weapons is the possibility of their simultaneously and unequivocally affecting large masses of people over huge areas." Let me read that last line again. "The terrible danger of psychotropic weapons is the possibility of their simultaneously and unequivocally affecting large masses of people over huge areas." Again, this technology seems to exist, and it seems to have the capability to control the minds of masses of people. And then Moscow, Armeysky Subordnik, October 1996, in this Russian article, stated thus, the new space systems are potentially dangerous from the aspect of unfolding a wide-scale information war and even creating global systems of controlling people's behavior in any region. Global systems for controlling people's behavior in any region. This is pretty freaky stuff, guys. The FBI's Foreign Broadcast Information Service article by Alan Gosson, Apocalypse Now, talking about HARP, back in 1997, expressed this: are the Americans currently developing a vast weapon system capable of scanning the entrails of the Earth to seek out secret bases, jamming any form of radio communications, influencing human behavior? Nevertheless, if one is aware of the fact that the real sponsors are the Navy, the Air Force, and the Department of Defense, then it is hard to believe that it is not a project for military purposes. And, if they have GPS tracking up there, they have the capability to do this sort of thing as well. Aviation Week and Space Technology, 1998, on page 55, on information warfare and U.S. capabilities. Quote, techniques as esoteric as mapping the psychological and cognitive makeup of foreign leaders for key groups in order to predict reactions to manipulated information. And in the same article, later on, the Air Force General John Jumper was cited. Jumper talked about tools that could make potential enemies see, hear, and believe things that don't exist. So there you have it. My sneaking suspicion is that the ISS and other satellites like the X-37B shuttle that went up there, which the cargo and the payload is secret, is part of this whole conspiracy to cover up and control massive amounts of people and read the minds of massive amounts of people. That could be what is really going on with this whole technology and with the ISS. And so that's why when I say, the people that are saying, oh, the ISS doesn't exist, there's no satellites up there, I would be very careful about that, because it might be playing right into the hands of those conspirators who want us to think that. Okay? So just be very diligent about the position you hold about satellites and stuff like that, because it's clear that this sort of science exists and this technology exists. Why in the world would they not put it out in space where they can monitor everybody and have the potential to control large masses of people? Now, the point of this is that there is a powerful supernatural weapon of our own that I think can protect us from this sort of technology and science. Now, Ephesians 6 is very popular. You guys probably know about the whole armor of God. There is two items that I want to talk about from the armor of God. Ephesians 6:16. In all circumstances, take up the shield of faith, which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one. The shield of faith. This is powerful because it can deflect the flaming darts of the evil one. And then along with that, take the helmet of salvation. Why? Because we need to protect our mind and the knowledge that's in our mind of our eternal salvation through Jesus Christ. While they're trying to control us and manipulate us and do all this stuff, the one thing that we have to keep in mind is our salvation through Jesus Christ. That's the thing that they want to eliminate from us. And if they can control massive amounts of people from deflecting this idea, then they have done their job. Ultimately, what they want to do is get people to take their focus off of Jesus Christ and be in fear, or even worse, be in control of these elite or whoever that are controlling these space-based technologies. So keep that in mind. And then let me just finish it up. The sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Go back to the Word of God, because that's the sword of the Spirit. It pierces through all the stuff. Okay, so that's about it for this video. So keep in mind, guys, those of you who say the ISS doesn't exist, first off, yes, very suspicious about things going on up there, especially the broadcasts and stuff that are happening. Doesn't look legit, okay? And obviously, there's a connection to secret societies and everything else. But don't jump to the conclusion that it doesn't exist, because you might be playing right into their hands if you suggest that, okay? So that's about it for this video, guys. God bless.